Hello and welcome to the Canney podcast with me, Canney. And in this podcast, I'm going to talk about the 7 steps to fulfillment. Now, these are in no particular order, but I'll just read them out for you. Step 1, understanding how to be happy. Step 2, taking an honest look at our relationships. Step 3, moving, feeding and relaxing our body. Step 4, feeding our mind. Step 5, filling our life with what we love. Step 6, embracing the fact that humans are tribal. And step 7, making life a lifestyle. Now, step 7 would almost be more suited to being step 1. But I like that it comes at like number 7 as well. It's like almost like a circle. It could be the last or the first. If these 7 steps were like, if you imagine them being like written around a circle, like around a ring or something, or some kind of like, I don't know, picture or wooden piece of like art, or something on the wall that you'd hang up and you'd see the 7 steps of fulfillment go around in a circle. And it's like making life a lifestyle should be the aim, that where you start from. You start thinking about your whole life and how you can make it a lifestyle. But it's also like, once you understand all these things and you do all these things, make sure you do them. Like, the last thing to remember is to make life a series of daily, weekly, monthly, seasonally, yearly, lifelong habits and rituals, which will help you to be satisfied and fulfilled in the short, medium and long term. And when I say understanding how to be happy, like true knowledge and wisdom and understanding is a mixture of both theory and action/experience. It's like you can theoretically understand something, but if you don't experience it, you're not going to have as deep an understanding as if you understood the theory about it. And vice versa is true as well. If you only experience things, right, and you go into something with the attitude of, I just kind of will wing it and kind of know what I'm doing, but I'm not going to study anything about it, you won't have enough points of reference to look at the nuances of what you could be improving or what you could be doing differently. So, for example, say like you wanted to become a really good tennis player. If you only study the theory of tennis, you have a tennis coach and he tells you all of the theories of like how to stand, how to hold your tennis racket, how high to throw the ball, whereabouts to let your hand go, how close or far away from you should throw the ball, how far you should bring your racket back, how far you should bring your racket forward, where your toes should be pointing, etc., etc., etc. How to work on your backhand, how to move your feet, the way to stand when the game's in play, the different techniques, the different tricks to do, everything, like how to look at your opponent, etc., etc. It's like he can tell you all of those things, but if you never pick up a fucking tennis racket and get stuck in, like, that doesn't mean shit, right? And vice versa. If you don't have a coach or somebody like giving with more knowledge and experience than you, giving you practical advice, and you're just hitting a tennis racket and you're just going, I'll wing it and I'll get good by myself. It's like you kind of need both. They both like give points of reference to the other. They both complement each other, theory and knowledge, and the same is true with life. So it's like you can learn all the theory you want in life, but unless you have the experience, and unless you have the experience, you don't have the point of reference. And a nuanced point of view from let's say the theory, right? But you also sorry, wasn't no? I think I said that the wrong way around. I meant like you it is good to get experience for the experience sake, but it's not just the experience, it's the actual act of acting and taking action, right? The actual act of taking action is what gets things done. And it's like the understanding of how to be happy is happening on many different levels. It's happening on the level of whilst you're going through the actions, like, for example, whilst you're like doing exercise, you're feeling the actual feeling, like within your body. It's unquestionable. It's like no one needs to tell you, oh, you're feeling good, this exercise is benefiting you. You can feel it, especially when you get done with like walking or running or swimming or doing whatever, or cardio or strength training, whatever it is. At the end, and especially like a while after, when you've recovered a bit, it's like you can really feel the benefits. Your head feels clear, feels like clear. Your blood's pumping, your heart's pumping, you have less cortisol, you feel less stressed, you've got less things on your mind, you've sweated, you've strengthened the muscles, the body's had a cleanse. It's like your body's doing the things it's supposed to be doing, you know, and it's like you're then understanding, you're making the connection, oh, this is how to be happy, you know. And you'll also make, you know, vice versa. It's like when you, you know, learn the simple, the obvious, you know, they say, a lot of the things I'm saying are common sense, but as they say, common sense isn't that common. You know, when you learn, oh, you know, when I do exercise, in theory, I need to do some exercise because I know in theory it will help me feel better. It's like, yeah. And that's like, you know, a very simple example, but, you know, the most profound truths are the simplest ones. Sometimes the simplest examples show us the, you know, the truth more easily. They can be looked at, you know, and then we can like look more in depth into more nuanced things in life, which are a bit less simple than if you do exercise, you know, you feel good. It's good for you. But yeah, understanding how to be happy is important. Like learning like knowledge about the human psychology and like general human psychology, the things that can benefit all humans, and then learning about you know, human spirituality, learning about the body physiology a little bit, learning about you know, becoming more emotionally intelligent and gaining a deeper form of emotional intelligence, you know, and also learning a bunch of unconventional wisdom, you know, about like that a lot of people in the current time we're living in 2021, for the last 5 to 10 years, like the world's been waking up a bit more. People are realizing that you know, humans are spiritual beings, and people are becoming more emotionally intelligent, and like people also like playing around more and being more open-minded to things like the law of attraction and, you know, things like that, and affirmations. You know, these ideas, these ancient ideas are being shared through the internet in a new modern way, and it's a beautiful, wonderful time to live in, right? And you have access to it. Like our parents' generation didn't have the internet, you know, the way we did growing up, millennials, and we didn't even have it the way the kids now had it. They had it from a really young age. We didn't have it properly, you know, till we were like probably in our teenage years. Some of us 11, 12, some of us like a bit older or a bit younger than that, you know. But generally speaking, because I'm born in 1991, right, we didn't really have the internet in the same way that we started to have it later on when we became teenagers, and that kids now have it. There's no more excuses of like, oh, I didn't know what to do. It's like, motherfucker, you've got you've got the fucking ultimate tool that our grandparents and parents, right, and even us when we were younger, at the beginning of our life, before the internet really took off in the 90s, right, when we were living in the 90s, born in the 90s, go like the internet wasn't the way it is now. The internet now, you've got literally you can type into Google or watch any YouTube video, listen to any podcast, right, on the internet of how to do this. And even if you buy physical books, you can buy them from the internet, and you can type in this book, like the name of a book, and that you'll be able to find it. And it's like you've got like I don't know, probably billions. I'm not sure on the exact number. I'd assume maybe billions, but there's certainly millions of YouTube videos on any subject you want. Like, there's no excuse. Like, our parents would have killed for that shit. You know what I mean? Like we can understand how to be happy, and it's like our responsibility to do it. You don't need to say, oh, well, they didn't teach it to me in school. They didn't, like, especially as most of the people I'm talking to are going to be over the age of 18 anyway. It's like, as an adult, it's like you can learn anything you want and spend your time doing what you want. Like, in your free time, away from the time that you're at work, you should be spending, like, when I say you should be spending, I'm not here to tell you, look, listen, do what you want to do with your life. I'm not here to be your teacher or your father or your dictator or the person that tells you what you shouldn't do and what you shouldn't do. I don't like people telling me what to do and not to do, and I wouldn't want to be a hypocrite in that way. But since this podcast is for people who actually want to follow, like, 7 steps to fulfillment that I've, like, come to realize, and then obviously they're not all my 7 steps, that are not completely original. Obviously, like, we all know exercise is good, meditation is good, like eating healthy food, etc. is good, but you get my point, right? It's like these are my 7 steps that I've come to. That's what I call these things, 7 steps to fulfillment. But, you know, since this is what this podcast is about, it's like anyone listening should be someone that's interested in this kind of stuff. So when I say you should be doing this, don't do what you want. But my point is like, you know, and I know through theory, and me through experience, and some other people listening who do watch YouTube videos to, like, learn things, right? It's like, it's a good thing that benefits us in our life, and I'd recommend anyone who wants to live a life of satisfaction and fulfillment, like, learning as much as they can about, like, spirituality, emotional intelligence, you know, how to be happy, how to create a life you love. You know, like, you can learn anything, right? So understanding how to be happy is the first step, and you can start to do that by typing in to YouTube things you're interested in, like, I don't know, how to create a life you love, or this podcast, or other people. Listen to Joe Rogan, listen to Russell Brand, listen to Teal Swan, listen to, like, lots of people, like, you know, and learn from them. You know, understand how to be happy theoretically, and then, you know, when you go and take action, it's like the law of attraction as well. You go and take action, then and you get interested in something, then you're bound to, like, you know, come across someone else in life who's like that, and you're bound to come across someone on social media for sure these days, on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, you know, and who's interested in that kind of thing. And you can, like, I was going to say, you can learn and just understand how to be happy even more, but it's like you literally can form, like, good relationships with people who are also on a similar mission to live a life of satisfaction and fulfillment, and to help others to do so. You know, which brings me on smoothly onto the next step, which is take an honest look at your relationships. You know, by relationships, I don't just mean romantic and or sexual relationships. I mean familial relationships, like with family. I mean friendships. I mean sexual and romantic relationships too. And, you know, relationships with colleagues at work or whatever you do for a job, and, you know, and also your relationship with yourself, which all these things come down to. You know, take a look at what was your relationship like with your parent or parents / guardian / guardians, or whoever raised you, and then the extended family growing up. How's that affected you? What's your relationship with these people like now? Do you have a relationship with them? How do you feel about that relationship? Would you like to have a better relationship, more healthy relationship with them now? Is that even possible? Right? If not, well, how can you? What kind of relationships with other people that might fill those roles of parental, healthy, supportive relationships can you have? Can you gain? What, like, male or female mentors or supportive people can you you know, could you find in your to then be, like, part of your life, like the elders in a tribe or something, right? That fill that role, so that you have a supportive network of people that can fill the void of like certain family relationships you're missing. And even if you do have a healthy relationship with your parents, or a relatively healthy one, or you had a relatively healthy one growing up, you'll probably still have some issues. No one's perfect. And even though I say that I say that people come from functional families more so than I did, and some people were even more dysfunctional than mine, it's like at the same time, even people who came from relatively functional families, many of us, including Tilson and other people who really get deep into like emotional intelligence and, you know, like how childhood affects adulthood and spirituality and stuff, know that we're still in the emotional dark ages when it comes to emotional intelligence, and that we all still in the future they'll look back at even the most functional families today as still dysfunctional, the way we look back at like the Middle Ages, at like what the fuck were they thinking? But to them it was like, oh no, this isn't that bad, right? This is just normal, right? So we've all got issues from our childhood, and we all I feel like everyone should go to therapy, and that's, you know, a therapist can fill a role of an older, or, you know, male or female mentor, you know. And sorry, not just they'll, you know, they're a therapist technically, but they kind of can be almost like a father figure or a mother figure or something, you know. So what else? Our relationships with our friends. What kind of relationships do we have with our friends? Are our relationships with our friends toxic and they're not very good? What could we do to improve in those relationships? Is there anything that can be done? Might it be better for us to walk away from certain relationships, friendships? What new friendships can we build? You know, I found from my own experience that as I grew and became more like myself, and I'm sure many people out there can relate to this, I started to go on my own unique journey in my life more and more. Certain old friendships just kind of fell away. You know, certain people didn't want to be my friend anymore, and I didn't want to be their friend, and we've moved away from each other. But then like other people were attracted into my life, and then other old friends and acquaintances that weren't as close before came into my life, because, you know, it's the law of attraction. It's you're on your own unique path, and you're going to attract like-minded people. You know, people who like you for you, who love you for you, who don't try and change you, who don't constantly criticize you, put you down, right? So like, I'd say a way of, if you are thinking that you want to meet new people, new friends, and get involved in serious, you know, like create more healthy, loving, supportive friendships, then I recommend figuring out who you are, which brings me on to the relationship we have with ourselves, and figuring out what we need, you know. And also I just remembered I missed the point out when I was saying understanding how to be happy, and, you know, like there are things that all human beings activities and rituals and habits that all human beings can engage in and create in our everyday lives to be happy, satisfied, and fulfilled. But there are also, you know, uniqueness of us. We have to get to figure out who we are, who we really are, not who our parents or our teachers or our mentors or even our spouse or our friends or bosses or whoever wanted us to be or want us to be. It's like, who are we really, and who are we? Go on that journey, and then understanding our own unique psychology and our own unique individual needs and preferences and stuff. And yeah, so taking an honest look at our relationship with ourselves is like being honest. Are we taking care of ourselves, not just physically but mentally, emotionally? Are there certain aspects of ourselves that we have been smothered by our family or growing up that we need to get in touch with or get back in touch with? You know, maybe you liked to draw when you were younger, but, you know, you fell out of touch with it because maybe a teacher or maybe a parent or some motherfucker came in and tried to shit on you and tell you it's not good or it's a waste of time, you shouldn't do that. Or, yeah, so then you learn to like suppress that part of you. And it's like, now you're letting it, like is the time in life, if you're really serious about becoming satisfied and fulfilled, to get back in touch with that part of you that like to draw, right? Have a more loving relationship with yourself. And then, finally, romantic partner. Oh, sorry. Before we go into romantic partners, let's just say work colleagues. Because if you're working at a job where you can't stand it, you might even like the job, but you can't stand the people there, it's not very healthy. So what do you need to do to get a new job or be around new people? And if you're in a relationship with yourself, and if you're like, you're not earning money from your passion, earning a living from doing what you love, or you don't know how to, or you don't think you have the time to pursue that around work or whatever, it's like you need to make that a fucking priority and just get it done. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, in a few steps time, when I talk about filling your life with what you love. But so taking an honest look at our relationships, a romantic or sexual partner, right? I believe, like, if you're in a marriage or a relationship that's not working, it may be because you haven't been honouring certain parts of yourself and you're not compatible, or it may be because they haven't been honouring certain parts of themselves, they're not compatible, or it may just be one of those things where you just aren't made for each other. And who am I to tell you what to do in your relationship or with any of your relationships? But since you're listening to this podcast, and since this is the fucking topic I'm talking about, it's like, look at that for yourself and make a judgment. And maybe you're not in a relationship, but you want to maybe be in a relationship with someone. Well, the more you get in touch with you and who you are and look after yourself, the more at peace you'll be. Which means, one, the less issues you'll have that then will cause you and the other person harm, like unnecessary stress. But also, you'll attract someone who you're actually suited to, because that'll be your life. And if you are in a relationship, what are some things you could both do to, if you think it's salvageable and you really are meant to be together, what could you both do to help the relationship better? Maybe you need to talk more. Maybe you need to go on a date night more regularly. Maybe you both need to go to therapy to sort your own individual issues out that you talk with each other with all the time. And whilst I think there is oftentimes a nice, healthy version of that with the person you're in a relationship with, and in fact, not only that, it's important to do that, to actually bond and communicate and keep the relationship healthy. But some people can get stuck on that so much where it becomes they're just constantly, I don't want to use the word whining because I don't want to diminish anyone's the importance of talking about our own issues and getting them off our chest, and not degrade that and call it whining. But for want of a better word, it can become a bit too much sometimes if you're doing that. And it rather, sometimes you might want to also, well, you should go to a therapist on your own once a week. Some people want to go to couples therapy. I don't. That can work sometimes. I'm not an expert on that, but my point is, at least go to both of you go to therapy on your own, so you're not constantly talking at your partner when the time could be better spent communicating and enjoying each other's company. Pardon me. And you can also, exercise more regularly together, which will help you to feel better. If you're not doing that, you could eat healthy food, and prepare it together and cook for each other, which will make you feel better together. It's very primal. It's very physical, primal, spiritual, emotional, and intellectual at the same time, right? But especially, it's very primal, like cooking together and eating and helping each other to eat. Helping each other, fulfilling a need that our primal ancestors fulfilled in a very, what's the word? Trying to think of the fucking word. I can't think of the word. Maybe it'll come to me later. In a very real, obvious way, where they would gather from the earth berries, plants, nuts, seeds. They would also hunt animals, right? And there was the whole camaraderie between the the hunter and the animal, in as weird as that might sound, and as counterintuitive as that might sound, and that might be a bizarre word to use to describe someone who's going to go and kill an animal, and there being a camaraderie between them and that animal. But it's like a spiritual thing where Joe Rogan's talked about this before in his podcast, where when you are hunting an animal, it's almost like a respect of, like, you're using the animal, our ancient ancestors, and you're like giving back. It's giving back to you, right? And then one day you'll die and you'll give back to the earth. You're all part of the circle of life and nature, and it's like, that's why feeding, cooking for someone and giving them food and sharing food is a very like bonding, connecting thing, right? And then like meditating together, it's a very spiritual, connective, loving thing to do together. Which brings you on to step 3, moving, feeding, relaxing our body. Yes, engaging in exercise on a daily basis. Whatever that is for you, whatever you enjoy, even if it's just a brisk walk or a long walk. Sweating, incorporating exercise in nature into your lifestyle, because after all, we are primal beings. Human beings were supposed to be out in nature, and nature's very healing. When you're around the greenery, when you're around the woods, when you're around the air, the earth, the water, it's very primal. It's very relaxing. It's like our natural state of being. It's our natural habitat, more so than a house and cities and buildings. But yeah, exercising, whatever that be for you, like, you don't have to become a bodybuilder or a fitness fanatic, but just getting some regular exercise in, massively helps your mental, emotional, spiritual well-being, physiological, obviously. And eating healthy, nutritious food that's delicious, of course, is going to help you to feel satisfied and fulfilled. Like, there's obviously a huge connection between the food we put in our body and the drink we put in our body regularly, and what we, how we feel. If you eat a load of junk food, you might feel great on the way down in some respects, but you feel like shit afterwards, right? And when you've taken time away from eating junk food, as I have many times in my life, and I go back to eating it, I feel like, sluggish and horrible, right? And when you eat delicious, you eat clean and healthy, like, whole foods, like that Gaia, nature, and God, the universe intended, you're obviously you're fueling your body with the things that it needs to feel healthy, and you're going to feel great if you do that. Relaxing our body, meditating. Meditating helps to calm the mind, helps to increase our consciousness, our awareness, helps to calm anxiety, anger, our cortisol levels. It helps us to focus, gives us a wider, a longer, like attention span. It helps us like to calm and be present and be clear on what we're doing and our actions in the moment, that don't get carried away by our racing thoughts and our anxiety and anger and stuff throughout the day. Meditation's fucking magic. You can have epiphanies when you meditate, if you meditate for long enough, right? Yoga, again, very spiritual. There's a meditative element to yoga. There's lots of different types of yoga, but the yoga in general, there's an element of it that's really good, for you. That's really what did I say? I meant all forms of yoga are beneficial, and there's a meditative spiritual element to most of them, if not all of them. And it's also very physical and primal, because the body is being used, and a lot of it's about the breath. And many people believe that the breath is like spirit, and getting in touch with learning how to breathe properly during yoga is very beneficial. Which brings me on to Wim Hof and James Nestor, who are two, great authorities on breathing and how breathing helps the body. So I'd recommend anyone who hasn't heard of James Nestor or Wim Hof, definitely get in touch with, get that in your noggin, that theory, as I said, understanding how to be happy. Really, watch a load of both their videos, read the book Breath, do Wim Hof's breathing exercises. For sure, you'll be amazed at how how so many problems, like 90% of all of our physical, mental, emotional problems, could be with a few exceptions here and there, and have been proven to be able to be cured with correct breathing and different breathing techniques, right? You won't believe it until you really get into it. And then when you do, especially Wim Hof's breathing exercises, you'll feel great. You'll feel so relaxed. You'll get in touch with ancient technology and primal and spiritual wisdom that we still have in our body, and we can use in the modern world, these modern times we live in. Completely for free. And relaxing our body, getting a good night's sleep in the darkness, because that's how we were designed to sleep. We were designed to be out by a campfire. The only light after the campfire had gone out were the moon and the stars, and some nights the moon wasn't even there. And so our bodies produce hormones which were about resting and going into deep sleep. And then the deep sleep was the spiritual we had a whole other spiritual component, but also just healing on a physical level and a mental level as well. Sleeping in complete darkness, turning off your lights, your TV, your laptop, your phone, like our ancestors did. So feeding our mind, well, that's like, as I said earlier, that's just simply feeding your mind with knowledge about how to be happy, about human psychology, about all the things I've said, exercise, eating healthy, nutrition, breathing, but also like positive affirmations, motivational speeches. Always be learning new things, open your mind to new possibilities. Always be, putting on inspirational people, listening to their podcasts, reading books. Feeding your mind is so important. It's just as important as feeding the body healthy food. Like filling our life with what we love. Now, ideally, our life, we wouldn't be if we grew up in a society that was truly on our side, that truly had our best interests at heart. We would have created a system where the school, whatever school system we'd have, and our parents, they'd all tell us that the most important thing, don't worry about money and don't worry about going. We don't care whether you go to university, whether you have a job, whether you're employed, unemployed, whatever, whether you own a business, what kind of job you do, how much money you have, how much money you make. Like, we don't give a shit. You don't even put that bullshit in your fucking head when you're a kid. You don't need to know that shit. What you need to learn is that you will only be happy if you engage in and when I say that now, I'm speaking to you as adults. I'm saying you wouldn't even need to use a sentence, and you wouldn't even use this sentence. Ideally, sorry, my voice broke there. I'm fucking 29, nearly 30. Not fucking 13. Oh, guys, right. Ideally, you wouldn't even say to them, oh, the only thing you need to worry about, you can't be happy and fulfilled unless you do this activity. You just give them space and allow them to say, yeah, this is the time we're engaging in an activity that you love. And then you'd allow your children to engage in activities that you love. Oh, I missed out when I said take an honest look at our relationships. I also, sorry, just to go back a minute. We also have, if we have kids, what kind of relationship do we have with our kids? What kind of relationship would we like to have with our children? If we don't have children, what kind of relationship would we like to have with them? And like, ideally, obviously, I'm not telling anyone if they have kids, what to do. I'm not even a father at the moment. I don't even have kids, but I was a kid, and I know a thing or two about what pain feels like growing up as a child, and the needs that weren't met, and the things that happened to me that shouldn't have happened that were painful. And people who had even worse than me, and people who not as bad as me, but it's still levels of dysfunction. And I know that childhood, our parents and or guardian or lack thereof, any of those things, or our family in general, can really but particularly parents to children, really affect us. And it's like, I know what kind of father I want to be. I want to be the kind of father, the kind of parent that encourages my children to do, that they can do. That says, I'm happy when you're at peace, and the only thing I want for you is to be at peace and satisfied and fulfilled, right? And I live a peaceful, satisfied, fulfilled life, and they then monkey see, monkey do, right? Rather than telling your children, you need to do this, you need to do that. Now, of course, I'll give them some guide useful information and stuff, and teach them about meditation, and teach them about the mind, and teach them about nutrition, and teach them about emotional intelligence and stuff, and like yoga and the theory. But like, it's like, what kind of things are you putting in your kids' head? What kind of relationships are you having with them? Like, I'm gonna, say like, you shouldn't be telling your kids, well, we putting pressure on them, oh, you want to go to uni, we want you to go to uni just because you're a snob and you have this weird idea that your kids should go to uni, or because you want them to do a particular job, which again oftentimes is because you're a snob and you want them to say, hey everyone, look at my children, they wear white collars to work, or they work at this job, this is how much they get paid, and they have a degree, a piece of paper, yeah. Like, I don't give a fuck about that shit. I'm not saying there's nothing that if you want to go to uni and you would like to get a degree, and that's something you genuinely want to do, and that brings you satisfaction and fulfillment, that's awesome. I'm not putting down uni in and of itself or any of these things. My point is, don't get attached to the symbol and say, and put that on your child. They'll learn that as an adult. And if you just say, we want you to be satisfied and fulfilled from when they're a kid, all the way up to adulthood, and that's the vibe you put out there, rather than we have these expectations and you're a bad kid if you don't do what we say, we want you to do this thing that you don't want to do, we want you to do. It's like, no, that's like all bullshit. It's like, teach them that they can do something they love. So for example, I think I used the example of drawing earlier, but say your kid loves to draw, as I like to do when I was younger. You don't put in any kind of bullshit ideas to them that they need to go and get a job or do something they don't like that's not drawing. You don't put any bullshit ideas into their head. Oh, you need to go to uni, you need to do this and that, or you can't. It's really hard to earn money from drawing. That's a limiting belief, and it's bullshit. Right? There are ways of earning a living from drawing which are really fucking simple, and that's your responsibility as a parent to find out those things. As I said, we'll talk about it now. Well, obviously, like, whatever your business is, it's like there's always a demand for it, like 99 times out of 100. The passion that you do, there's a way of earning money from it, trust me. And some of the things that are like, these things, it's like, yeah, it's obvious there's ways of earning money from them, because loads of people earn money from drawing. Right? Nowadays with the internet, it's even more, you can promote it with YouTube videos, with Instagram, with Twitter, with Facebook, and also, old school promotional way, like leaflets through doors. You can find ways of promoting it. The problem is, what lots of parents do is they don't have this knowledge and wisdom about like promoting products and stuff, and they have all these other weird like expectations of their children, which they kind of discourage their kids to do the things they love, and they have all these limiting beliefs like there are no ways of making money about that. Like, stop putting that bullshit in your kids' heads. It's fine. They'll figure it out if you help them to figure it out. Right? Anyway, ran over. What was I saying? So yeah, as adults, to the adults now, just ourselves. Ideally, when we grew up, that would have been the case. We would have been taught in school and by our parents that it's okay to. That the goal should have been, you do something you love, and you do it for the sake of loving it, and then you figure out how to make enough money that you want and need, and then that's it, and that's fine, and then your life will be happy, rather than saying you need to go and do this thing you hate and then get a load of money for it. It's like, no, that's backwards. It's weird. Your life then becomes fucking miserable because you're doing something you really don't enjoy. So yeah, as long as you feed your life with what you love. So say you are working a job and you can't quit yet because you haven't got enough money for rent and stuff. I understand that, right? Just work on it in your free time, right? Don't need to work on it every free time. Obviously still socialise and stuff with other people and whatever. Don't need to work on it every minute of the day, but set some time out in your week to work on it because you love it, if it brings you satisfaction and fulfillment, and then figure out a way to make money from it and start making money from it, then quit your job. Then you'll be just filling your life with what you love, and you'll be happy and satisfied and fulfilled, and then you'll be earning money doing what you love, making a living doing what you love. right? Which, yes. Now, number 6, embracing the fact that humans are tribal. This means a couple of things. The first thing it means is human beings need connection with other people. And so we need to understand that, yes, whilst everyone's different and some people like spending some time on their own a bit more than others naturally, right? And there's other people spend less time on their own, and then while some people like doing certain activities on their own or thrive better at doing a certain activity on their own, that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, as people, a lot of the time we need other humans around us. So knowing that, going back to the idea of taking an honest look at our relationships, we need to think of our life as like every interaction we have with people is like someone in our tribe. And are they giving us negative shit? And are we giving them negative shit? And is this relationship good for me? And is the way I'm showing up in this relationship, be it familial, romantic, sexual, friendship, work, whatever, am I giving them the energy they need? Or is it not going anywhere? And it's like, you want to build your life with a bunch of different people that you consider your tribe, even if some of those people you only are living in another country and you speak to on Skype. Still, the energy they're giving you has to be something that's like for your greater good, and the energy you're giving them, you should encourage and support each other, right? And then we want to move into even more primal physical stuff. You could then say, oh well, it's good to have ceremonies and rituals with humans because we're tribal, like doing yoga, doing meditation with each other, exercise, healthy eating, right? And then even more so, getting back to nature, as I said earlier. And you can take this as far as you want it. Like some people will completely want to live in a commune, and some people will just like, I just like walking in nature. But I think somewhere in between there is like, you know, I'd say like, which is where I'm kind of at, go on a camping trip. You know, camp in nature with friends. It's something very primal and lovely about being around a campfire with other human beings and eating and drinking and laughing and having a good time and cooking your own food outside and being under a canvas or a tent like our ancestors were, and being out in nature. There's something beautiful about that. That's very healing, right? And then step 7, as I said, which could be step 1 as well, make life a lifestyle. Like really commit to this, to all these 7 steps, you know. Really commit to making this a daily, weekly, monthly thing, not just something I took an honest look at my relationships 3 months ago for like 10 minutes and I haven't done since, or I don't exercise every day, I exercise like once every 3 weeks, or I don't meditate most days, I just meditate like once a month. It's like, no, you're not getting the full benefit of it. You have to make all of these things together. And like I don't feed my mind with YouTube videos 5 days a week. I feed, like, I'm not saying you have to do all these things to the extreme every single day and kill yourself. I'm not saying you don't take a bit of time to just be spontaneous and, you know, do what you got to do, whatever, like go with the flow a little bit. But there has to be some form of, for one, I don't like the word discipline in some respects because it has negative connotations from different things that we're not going to go into, but you kind of get my point when I mention the negative connotations of certain ways that the word discipline can be used as against us or in unhealthy ways. But for want of a better word, the discipline of like setting time aside in your week, like this is my time to do this, and I'm going to honor this meditation session, or I'm going to honor this time where I work on my projects, right? Rather than going, oh, I'm too tired to do this. No, motherfucker, you make it like something for your life. This is your life we're talking about. This is my life, right? I'm talking to myself when I say this as well. I slip sometimes, you know. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast, the 7 Steps to Fulfillment from me, Conor Canney, and I will see you guys soon. Take care. Have a great week, people. Peace and love to all.